Good evening and welcome to your City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 15, 2020, and it is 7 p.m. In an effort to minimize the spread of COVID-19, Governor Newsom issued an executive order that temporarily suspends requirements of the Brown Act. We have some kind of ecosystem here. Given this executive order, the Laguna Niguel City Council chambers are closed to the public until further notice. Members of the public are strongly encouraged to observe the City Council meeting live online via YouTube Live streaming that can be accessed on the city website. Members of the public may submit comments on any agenda item or on any item not on the agenda by email to the city clerk at egomez@cityoflagunaniguel.org. All comments received prior to the discussion of the agenda item will be read into the record up to the time limit of 3 minutes. Any portion of the comment not read aloud due to time restrictions will still be included in the written record. The City of Laguna Niguel thanks you in advance for taking all precautions to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Jennings? Councilmember Rains?
Present.
Councilmember Sharma?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Genoway?
Present.
And Mayor Menegar.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, I would like to ask Councilmember Sandy Rains to provide the invocation.
Oh, gracious God, we thank you for the opportunity to serve our community in such a time when there is much turmoil, confusion, hurt, and yet the time before us is the holidays where we should be joyful and gracious and grateful. We ask that you give us the empowerment and the courage to serve, be respectful, and to be open to hearing all that each person has to say. We pray and ask your guidance and thank you for your ever-loving grace. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, and I would like to ask Councilmember Kelly Jennings to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You may be seated. Our first announcement this evening is to share with the community that our Chief of Police Services, Matt McDaniel, will be retiring shortly after the start of the new year. As mayor, it is my pleasure to thank Chief McDaniel for his dedicated service to ensuring public safety here in the great city of Laguna Niguel. Chief McDaniel has proudly serviced the citizens of Orange County for over 29 years through his public service in the Orange County Sheriff's Department. In his role as Chief of Police Services for the city of Laguna Niguel, Chief McDaniel has built an incredible team of public safety professionals. He has upheld the highest standard of integrity for law enforcement, and he has established long-standing and meaningful connections with members of the community. Chief McDaniel has been selfless in his service to our residents and businesses, and he has effectively ensured that the safety and security of Laguna Niguel continues to be a priority that is not only maintained, but also built upon. As a resident, a business owner, and an elected official, I truly appreciate what Matt has done for our great city. As the mayor of Laguna Niguel, and on behalf of my city council colleagues, I would like to thank Chief Matt McDaniel for everything that he has done for Laguna Niguel. And although we will miss him a lot, We wish him the very best in his well-deserved retirement. To honor Chief McDaniels' years of service with the city of Laguna Niguel, we will formally recognize him during our city council meeting in January. Our second announcement this evening is to share with the community that our next Chief of Police Services will be Orange County Sheriff's Lieutenant Virgil Asuncion. Lieutenant Asuncion is a law enforcement veteran who has served numerous Orange County communities over the past 2 decades, including the cities of Aliso Viejo, San Juan Capistrano, and even right here in the great city of Laguna Niguel. Throughout his career in public safety, Lieutenant Asuncion has climbed the ranks in Orange County Sheriff's Department. He comes to us with valuable experience in the city municipality realm, as well as with diverse experience throughout the varying divisions of the Sheriff's Department. His developed leadership skills will provide him with the ability to effectively support and enhance our community's commitment to public safety and to continue the great momentum that outgoing Chief McDaniel has created. I'm confident that the high level of safety and security that Laguna Niguel residents enjoy and expect will be maintained through Lieutenant Asuncion's leadership. My city council colleagues and I are pleased to welcome Lieutenant Asuncion to Laguna Niguel family, and we are excited to formally welcome him during our city council meeting in January. At this juncture, I wanted to ask my city council colleagues if you would like to make any comments. I see none. This concludes our announcement, so we will now move on to the public communications. Madam City Clerk, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. I will read the public communications that I received one at a time, beginning with Rochelle DeBaca. She is a resident. She submitted her comments last time, but they were missed, so I'm going to go ahead and read hers first. Council members, I have been a resident in Laguna Niguel for 16 years. It was disgusting to see members of our city celebrate Thanksgiving Day in the midst of a global pandemic by holding an event where our city's public health was knowingly and severely threatened. What occurred at Crown Valley Park last Thursday was not a rally, but rather the attempts of well-known anti-mask promoters to disguise a social event for their own pleasures. Peggy Hall, the social affairs organizer, participated as a speaker in a pro-America rally with Madam Mayor Davies. In a so-called expression of rights, Peggy Hall put the right to life in jeopardy, not just for the 300 individuals choosing to be present without following state social distancing guidelines, but for every single person knowingly or unknowingly in contact with those individuals over the next 14 days. Peggy Hall herself proclaimed on social media she sold 300 tickets to individuals for $30 each. Attendees stood in long lines within close quarters for food. These sites left many Orange County residents with the same question. Why did the Orange County Sheriff's Department, those we pay tax dollars to protect us, our children and elderly family members, not shut this event down the minute it started? Was this event approved by Laguna Niguel City Council members? As a Laguna Niguel resident, I am requesting an investigation into why there was a lack of communication between the city manager and the OCSD. Why did the city manager not know about this event the day it happened, and why was she informed 2 days later? Where was the security to protect the public in our local government park property? Why was the park patrol not working on a holiday? Peggy Hall acted in defiance of Governor Newsom's mandate promoting the spread of COVID-19 in a community us residents deserve to feel safe and protected within. I believe Peggy Hall should be fined for having this illegal event on government property. If Peggy Hall can advocate she raised $9,000 to hold such an event, she certainly has the funds to pay some portion of that back into a community she so clearly disrespected and disregarded. Council members, you are responsible for all protective measures to prevent public health safety issues from happening in our city. It is you who are responsible for holding individuals accountable for these occurrences. Make it known that you value the lives of Laguna Niguel residents and act. Thank you.
Madam City Clerk Gomez, before you proceed, this is the only comment with regard to that specific item?
Yes, and actually the next one looks like it might have something to do with it, but she's kind of more general in her comments.
If so,
the
I
next
wanted to turn
person.
it over to our city manager, Tammy Letourneau, to provide us some feedback.
Yes. So as soon as I learned about the event, which was 2 days later, I asked for a full investigation on the matter, and I'm actually going to turn it over. We've been working in conjunction with the city attorney's office on that investigation. So I'm going to turn this over to City Attorney Ennis for an update.
Thank you, City Manager Letourneau. Mayor Minigar, our office is actively reviewing all available information about the Thanksgiving Day event in Crown Valley Park. And our review of that event is nearing completion, and we plan to complete our work on that matter very soon. That concludes my comments.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the next comment.
Thank you, Mayor. This one is rather lengthy, so I'm going to set the timer. This is from Melissa Crew. She sent it Saturday, December the 5th. I watched the city council meeting from December 1st, 2020. I'm not usually someone who is generally aware of, writes, or comments about city council proceedings. However, this past year has opened my eyes to the importance of being awake, aware, and civically active rather than civically passive. As I've watched our nation torn apart, I feel threatened about the direction some wish to take this great free country. Our traditions, history, and freedom have been under attack. I have had firsthand experience of my civil liberties being trampled upon in my business and my children's education. This overreach at state level by our governor to promote his own political agenda and those of his family members has been extremely painful to my family, as well as to countless others in the state. I have felt somewhat powerless over this one-man rule and find myself asking, how did we get here? The answer is that we allowed it. For my part, this was due to disinterest, indifference, and ingratitude. I am no longer any of these. I have become painfully aware of the importance of taking interest in who holds the position of public servant and the bottom line of how that person can directly impact my life. I am aghast at how far and how insidiously we have moved away from the structure of government our brilliant forefathers created. I felt compelled to fight for the return to their ideals and speak up when I see conflict of interest between public servants and their constituency. Witnessing nepotism and fiscal abuse of office at federal and state levels, whether it's rules being made for constituents that don't apply to the governor and his Aunt Nancy or backdoor big money deals made with other countries by our former vice president and his son, makes me feel obliged to step forth where and when I can to protect myself, my family, and all my ancestors fought to preserve in matters of government. We can no longer afford the luxury of trusting our representatives without constant observation and audit. For the future of my children, I need to be on watch and active to make sure they continue to live in city, state, and nation, governed by the people, for the people. I'd like to remind those in public office that theirs is a position of service to us, the constituents. I feel it important to be vigilant about pointing out possible backdoor deals by elected public servants at city level. My hope is in making such efforts, taking interest, and encouraging others to do the same. We eliminate ambivalence among constituents who view and accept politicians as self-serving and holding control. That's her time. The next comment is by Steve Shepard. I am a resident here in Laguna Niguel. I hope this is going to the right person, as I would like my issue to be relayed to the council. I watched the city council meeting the other night to see the council members sworn in, and since I recently discovered that Laguna Niguel mayor and mayor pro tem do not go on the ballot for the people to elect, but are elected by the council, I was interested who would be elected. I was a little shocked to see our mayor and mayor pro tem elections were so obviously prearranged, with no debate or even anything said by the nominees as to why they should have the position. I have gathered that the positions are meant to rotate around in turn, but it did not seem to work that way. I believe the new mayor was in line, but the mayor pro tem has been mayor before. It seemed odd that both the new mayor and the last mayor's wife, just seated to the council, would nominate a previous mayor to be mayor pro tem instead of a newly elected member. It seemed to be prearranged by the three, as both new mayor and new mayor pro tem had little speeches prepared to accept the position, while the other two council members seemed unaware and surprised by that nomination and objected, and one of them nominated the other. It also happened very fast with no discussion. What is that? So first day of the new council, and there is a weird shadiness and immediate division with these important appointments. That's how it looked. There was also something in one of the speeches that said the council was not cliquey, but this display refuted that almost immediately. I just wanted to say to the council, I was disappointed, and I feel the mayor pro tem, who has been there for a while, should have not taken the nomination and allowed a new member to take the spot, and certainly should not be in line to take the mayor's position again. Really, I feel these positions should be voted for by the people, as apparently the council is unable to self-appoint. Thank you, and I hope this gets read into the record. The next comment is by John Emery. I have a significant concern with two fences, locked gates that have been installed along the Longview Trail at the north and south ends, where the trail crosses in and out of Bear Brand Ranch. The Longview Trail is a public trail, and Bear Brand Ranch has an easement with the City of Laguna Niguel, Resolution 2003-741, to provide public access. I believe that Resolution 2003-741 and its related easement is clear about the public use of the Longview Trail from the north end, where it connects to the Colinas Bluff Trail, to the south end, where it connects to Longview Park, and then down through the community of Bear Brand Ridge. In my view, erecting those fences, locked gates, not only violates the easement, but also breaks the public trust with the city for maintaining public access to the trail. The action by Bear Brand Ranch has effectively blocked public access to the Longview Trail. I believe the City of Laguna Niguel should stand firm on this issue and achieve nothing short of the full removal of these two fences, locked gates, and restore public access to the full Longview Trail. I request that this email be read into the record at the upcoming meeting on December 15th. The next public comment is by Christy Von Waldberg. I am emailing you today to share my concerns with what I saw while watching the last virtual city council meeting on December 1st. I am asking that this email be read into the public comments during the December 15th city council meeting. When the council moved to nominate and confirm the new mayor pro tem, I noticed there was no motion to discuss that two city council members were both nominated. It seemed as though the decision to confirm one specific member was quickly decided in what I perceived a behind-the-scenes agreement prior to this council meeting. It was also strange that the new mayor rushed the confirmation, and one council person had to speak up to say she didn't consent. As mayor, I would hope he would encourage all persons to engage in the process. That did not appear to be the case. Our council members represent us as we elected them. They speak for us. I just returned from Washington, D.C., where myself and thousands of other patriots participated in an active protest in response to our recent elections. There is significant fraud, corruption, and questionable leadership in all levels of government. The people's rights under the Constitution are being violated all over the country, and we are watching all of our elected officials more closely now and moving forward. I am an active constituent and citizen of Laguna Niguel. I desire for our city council to put the needs of the citizens before their own ambitions and agendas. That is what has been accepted for years, and it is time for change. We, the people, are demanding this. Thank you for your time and for allowing me to share my concerns. Our democracy only works when we are able to speak up and shed light. It's what makes this country great, and like many others, I will be taking a more active role from here on out. The next one is from Noreen Goldman. The City of Laguna Niguel. My name is Noreen Goodman, and I have lived here in Laguna Niguel for 28 years. I bought my home to be close to the trails so I could walk my dog there every day. Since COVID hit, I have been going on much longer walks, and I have met so many lovely people out there with their dogs. On October 6th, I did the trail behind Bear Brand, which I have been doing for 28 years, and it was so beautiful. I took pictures to show my friend to get her to start going with me. The next week, when I went to that trail, there was a no trespassing fence put up. I thought it was a public trail and needed to stay open for the public as well as for a fire trail so the firemen could get in should they need to. I would like to know if that fence was put up legally and why, after 28 years, I cannot use this trail and what happens if there is a fire. Since then, I have been looking at the city website and trying to get involved more in my community. I watched the city council meeting to see who our new elected leaders are. I was disappointed to see the meeting I watched had no city business done involving the residents. The retiring council members spent a lot of time talking about their accomplishments, while incoming council members were more brief. I am also confused about the process in which mayor and mayor pro tem are elected. It seemed like the council members who were nominated for the position for mayor and mayor pro tem were not given an opportunity to share why they were nominated or why they should have that position. It seemed like the new mayor rushed the vote, and shortly thereafter, they read prepared speeches. I was really expecting a more transparent process for my elected officials. In the future, I will expect a more transparent process from my elected city council. Please let me know what is happening with my trail, and thank you. The next comment is from Kurt Travis. As a resident of Laguna Niguel for 24 years, I was surprised to learn that the individual who received the most votes was not selected in that role, namely Sandy Rains. Does not seem to be reflective of the people's choice, and the optics appears to be concerning and not inclusive to the will of the people. Additionally, there should be more of a discussion on the merits of each candidate versus arbitrary nominations without public comment. And the last comment is from Ken Mintz. As you can see, the rate of COVID is increasing drastically, and rather than loosening up, it is necessary to make certain that we are more cautious than ever. If you recall, the OC Board of Supervisors were initially against mask mandates for our county. Now that I'm reading it, it doesn't specify, but it seems like it might be for the discussion item. So I'm going to wait until that item comes forward. And that concludes the public comments for the regular city council meeting.
Very good. Thank you very much. Public communications is now closed. We will now move on to our consent calendar items 1 through 7. Are there any items that my colleagues would need to pull out for comments or discussions?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please.
I'd like to pull items 2, 3, and 5, please.
2, 3, and 5. Acknowledged by Councilmember Rishi Sharma. Any other items?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to pull item 5 for comment.
Item number 5 by Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway. Acknowledged. I see no other items to be pulled out. Can I have a motion to approve the remainder of the consent calendar?
So moved.
All right, it was moved by Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway. Can I have a second? It was seconded by Councilmember Sandy Rains. All in favor? Aye. The motion carries unanimously. Now moving on to the specific item number 2 by Councilmember Rishi Sharma. The floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Just a point of clarification going through the expense registry here that you have listed, Finance Director Eric Henderson, right? I'd like to ask that we have better descriptions as to, if you reference page 8 of 14 beginning at the bottom of the page, I noticed that the descriptions that are provided are general visa charges for such and such person, and it then portends about 2.5 pages of those visa charges for different individuals. If we could have a better breakdown on those as
If
to
I
what,
may interject, Councilmember Sharma, that's not on item number 2 that you're referring to. We don't have the itemized Expenses.
You're referring to
The-
item 1.
Oh,
Maybe, but you pulled items 2, 3, and 5, not item number 1.
I apologize. You're correct. Yeah, so it should be item number 1, not item number 2.
Okay, I guess as a matter of protocol, we need to go back.
Well,
To
what you could do is just have the questions posed, and then if it requires a reconsideration, we can deal with that if you want to reconsider your vote later.
Certainly. Thank you.
Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you. Anyways, to continue, if we could have a better description of what those costs entail, for future reference, I'd appreciate that.
Of course, yes, we can, this has been the historical practice here in this city, but we can definitely be more descriptive going forward, yes.
Thank you.
All right, now, just as a matter of formality for item number 1, I hear no other comments. Then let's move on to item number 2.
I actually don't have
Okay.
an item number 2.
So I need a motion for item number 2.
I'd so move.
All right.
Second.
It was moved by Councilmember Sharma and it was seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item on the agenda.
Should be item number 3, correct?
Item number 3.
Approval of the minutes from November 17th and December 1st. Perhaps this is a question for Attorney Ennis. There are 2 council members here that were not part of the 17th meeting. And for further clarification, the December 1st meeting was comprised of 2 separate, the first half of the meeting and the
Right.
second half of the meeting of which
It
I
is
was in
certainly
attendance.
appropriate for you to abstain, as well as for Councilmember Jennings to abstain on the meeting that you were not in attendance. With respect to the meeting that you were in attendance, but only half of it, since you were there for the portion that to which there are minutes, you can vote on the minutes of that meeting.
Thank you.
So would you like to do that? For the first portion, I think, do I have a motion among 3 of us?
Yeah, I
So
move
what I would
that,
suggest, Mr. Mayor, would be
Separate 'em?
you could have a separate motion to approve the minutes for
Right.
November 17th
That's right,
with the
That's
2
right.
abstentions. Yeah,
right.
deal with that
I'll
first.
move that we approve the minutes for November, or for December 1st.
All right, for December 1st meeting, the minutes is approved.
November 17th,
For
yeah,
November-
because we're doing
For November
17th.
17th.
okay,
it
I
was-
second it.
Okay, it was moved by Councilmember Sandy Raines and it was seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes
No.
3,
abstain. I
right? 3 to 2 abstaining because you were not elected back then. And with regard to the second portion of the meeting, the minutes for December 1st.
Okay, I move to approve the minutes of December 1st.
Okay, it was moved by Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway
I'll second.
and it was seconded by Councilmember Sandy Raines. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously. Now, moving on to item number 5. This was pulled by Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway as well as Councilmember Sharma. So the floor is yours for
I
both
defer
of
to
you.
you. Go ahead.
Hey, I'd just like to point out to our residents, this item is for approving an application for a grant from the State Department of Parks and Recreation. And I'd like to commend staff for finding this grant. This is a grant for $218,747. This project was going ahead, and these funds would be coming from our general fund. But now we'll be able to apply for a grant to get these funds so that actually we, then the city, have $218,000 more. But I think that's great work. I wanted to point that out. Also want to draw attention to the fact that parks are such an important part of the quality of life in Laguna Niguel. And park improvements and replacements of playgrounds keeps coming up. It's something that always comes up because there's a natural life to that. So I'd like to just draw attention to the importance of doing a parks needs assessment. I know staff has that on their radar and they are working on that, but I would like to emphasize the importance of bringing that forward so that we can really identify the needs of our residents going forward.
Councilmember Sharma, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Actually, having read this, I was very impressed with the application of this grant. One of the comments that was very present during the last election cycle, was the concerns or questions as to the replacement of the playground equipment there. And so the fact that we can now have additional grant money to help us out with that, I'm very appreciative of you applying those dollars to this project here. Thank you.
Now, can I have a motion to approve item number 5?
With that, I move approval of item 5.
It was moved by Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway and seconded by
Sharma.
Councilmember Sharma. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 5 passes unanimously. All right. Now we are moving on to, that concludes our consent calendar. We will now move on to discussions on item number 1, that is the fiscal year 2019-2020 comprehensive annual financial report, aka CAFR report that I call it. Finance Director Hendrickson, the floor is yours. Please proceed.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Presented for your consideration tonight is the fiscal year 2019-2020 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, also known as the acronym CAFR. The city's audit firm, Davis Farr, has concluded the audit and, along with city staff, prepared the financial statements. This is the second year that they have been the city's auditors. Also included in the agenda are other related audit reports, which include separate AUPs or agreed upon procedures. These are special steps that we have the auditors perform for extra assurance and quality control. This year, they looked into staff compensation, cash receipting, check sequencing, and voided checks. I'm happy to say the auditors have issued the city an unmodified opinion, which is also known as a clean opinion. They found no instances of material weakness and no findings. There were no instances of non-compliance with laws, regulations, contracts, or grants that could have had a material impact on the determination of the financial statements. They also indicated that there were no disagreements with management in completing their audit. Every fiscal year, the city submits the CAFR to the GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, for the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. I'm pleased to announce the city received this award for the 18-19 CAFR. This was presented at a previous council meeting. This was the 20th straight year the city has received this award. And as such, staff will be submitting this CAFR in front of you for the 21st, hopefully, award forthcoming. As detailed in the financial statements in front of you, the general fund ended the fiscal year on a positive note. General fund revenues totaled $44.1 million, and operating expenditures totaled $40.5 million. This results in an operational surplus of $3.6 million, factoring in general fund capital expenditures of $19.4 million. The general fund decreased in fund balance by $15.8 million. The general fund balance at June 30th, 2020 is $41.7 million. The fund balance is over 100% of annual operating expenditures, which is a fairly good ratio compared to other cities. This essentially means that we have saved up more than 1 year's worth of spending in our account. Finally, it's good to point out too that the city of Laguna Niguel continues to operate without any explicit bonded debt. We're able to fund our operations with what we get every year. That concludes my presentation tonight. Staff recommends that the council receive and file these reports, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comprehensive report. I wanted to turn it over to Madam City Clerk. Do we have any public comments on this item?
No, Mayor, there are no comments.
Very good. So the public comments portion is closed. Now I'm going to turn over to my city council colleagues for any comments, discussions, reflections. I start with Council Member Kelly Jennings.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank you all, staff, for getting this done. It's a lot of work, having been involved in many of these, so I understand all the effort that goes into it, and excellent job. I just really appreciate your diligence because it's very time consuming for you guys on top of your normal job. So given this odd year, everyone's struggling financially. It's really nice to see how strong we are financially, and that's with the good management that we have. So thank you. Keep up the good work. I just appreciate that we're just so strong in our finances, and that we have zero debt and no bonds, and that's fantastic. And having no responses, no negative responses is fantastic. So good job, you guys. I just really appreciate all you guys have done. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Councilmember Sandy Rains?
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to say I was real pleased to see that the swift action that was taken earlier on in the year by reducing the amount of capital improvement projects has really put us into this financial situation. So it is to be commended that we are being diligent. There was one point of interest that I found on here in our local economy. There has been an uptick of calls at our county level of people asking if they don't pay their property taxes, how long will it be before their properties are, foreclosed upon by the county. So even though we are projecting a $23.3 million amount, which is a 2.1% increase, I would say that we should cautiously be optimistic about that. And when we're planning for the next fiscal year budget, that we're a little more aware. It is a lot of supply and demand that's really raising the price of homes here. It's because we don't have the supply for the demand. It's not necessarily because we're providing more housing and that the housing market is flourishing. And in retrospect, when we look back after this past year, with the job loss and the unemployment rate over 10% still in Orange County, we might see a dip in that. So I just want us to be cautious and careful as we're planning forward for that. So with that, I'm just otherwise very pleased to see that the actions taken by the city manager and by Finance Director Erlinson really made a difference. And so thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Rishi Sharma, the floor is yours.
A couple points that come to my attention in specific were the 2.1% increase in property tax revenues to the city, which I think was a saving grace for us as well, and the swift action that the city staff took to reduce internalized costs as well. A couple things for future planning what we need to be aware of are the unemployment rates in Orange County. I don't think we've felt the full effect of that on our local economy yet. And as Councilmember Rains has pointed out too, we need to be vigilant as to some of the other challenges that our local economy is going to be facing coming up. So continued vigilance as to the finances and making sure that we're staying true to the foundation that we have currently in place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway.
Thank you, Mayor Menegar. I echo what Councilman Sharma has said, and we do need to watch because there is starting to be some economic erosion of the underlying indicators, and some of these are lag indicators, so we won't see the results for a while. But I commend the staff for the swift and decisive action that was taken regarding our finances at the beginning of this. I call it the COVID challenge because there's challenge in so many ways, but the city has taken action. So now we are at double what our reserve policy should be, because our reserve policy is 50% of our operating budget, and we are over 100%. So that should help our taxpayers and our residents sleep at night, that the city is being managed very responsibly. And I think it's good to have that big cushion right now because we don't know what's going to be coming up in the future, and we will be prepared to handle it. So thank you. Thank you for the clean report. We love clean audits, so thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I wanted to appreciate the comments from all of my colleagues. I wanted to echo the same thing. I'm extremely pleased with the financial health of our great city. I have served in the city council for the past 6 years. In the past, we have a new director of finance who's looking at everything from a completely fresh perspective. We also have a new audit firm that have done a superb job. And this year has been great when it comes down. As an engineer, I look at the numbers like my financial colleagues. At the end, we have to be positive. Mm-hmm. When I look at a lot of other cities in Orange County and a lot of other cities in the state of California that they are financially basically struggling. And when I talk to other mayors of other cities, they echo, the same thing, that we don't know how we can survive, or we don't know how much money we're going to be borrowing. As it was mentioned by my colleagues, we have zero debt, which is the best thing that we can have for our great citizens of this city. So I'm very pleased with the outcome. This is no action on this one. This is only a receive and file. So can I have a motion to receive and file the comprehensive annual financial report, so-called CAFR, and related audit reports for the year ended June 30, 2020, please?
I'll move.
All right, it was moved by Councilmember Kelly Jennings, and it was seconded by our expert financial advisor, Councilmember Sharma. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously. Our next item is discussion item number 2, and that is the expansion of the goat grazing weed abatement pilot program. Public Works Director Jackie Scott, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. On December 17th, 2019, the City Council awarded a maintenance services agreement to Sage Environmental Group to provide weed abatement services for 15 city-owned sites contained within 44 acres of city-owned open space. 2 sites, Reef Node Park and La Hermosa Park, were selected for the first year of a pilot program to be grazed using goats, with the remaining 13 sites utilizing traditional hand labor and equipment to remove weeds. Goats assist with thatch control, invasive species management, can navigate the city's open space much easier than hand labor and equipment, and provide an environmentally conscious solution that is fun for the community. Between March and May of 2020, approximately 150 goats focused on the removal of weeds at the 2 sites. Hundreds of visitors interacted with the goats, asked questions about the pilot program, and enjoyed the sight of the goats grazing in the community. On social media, the positive response from the community's residents showed that the pilot program was an overwhelming success. As part of the City Council discussion, it was requested that staff provide an update about the pilot program and potential expansion to additional city sites. Based upon the favorable results of the pilot program, staff recommends expansion of the program to 2 new sites, Kite Hill Open Space and La Vida Drive, in the year 2021. These 2 sites were selected based upon access requirements and providing an ideal size for goat grazing. Weed abatement using goats is approximately the same cost as using traditional hand labor and equipment. The fiscal year 2021 Public Works budget includes adequate funds for the weed abatement services provided with Sage Environmental Group. Staff recommends that the City Council continue the pilot program to allow goat grazing for weed abatement and expand the pilot program in 2021 to include the 2 new sites within the city, located at Crown Valley Park and Kite Hill Open Space and La Vida Drive right-of-way. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Very good. Before we ask you any questions, I wanted to turn it over to Madam City Clerk. Do we have any public comments on this one?
Thank you, Mayor. No, there are no public comments for this item.
Very good. Now, any of my colleagues would like to chime in on this item? Councilmember Sandy Rains? Yeah, the floor is yours.
It's mine. Okay, thank you. Goats were one of the most popular additions to our community last year. I guess when you have a pandemic and there's not much to do, it was nice to have something positive for our kids and residents to go and view. And I'm really proud of the fact that we were able to introduce this great pilot program and that it was effective and that we're looking at expanding it. I think it meets 2 of our strategic plan goals, and I think that it's a wonderful opportunity for us. And as we become more safe and able to have gatherings, I also think we could expound on the program by partnering with our school district to provide some educational opportunities for our young people, because they were really the ones that enjoyed it the most. And of course, the residents who didn't have to worry about the fire risks around their communities who benefited from it also benefited. So thank you so much for continuing to expand the program and bring this to us. And that's all I have to say.
Very good. Councilmember Sharma?
Thank you, Mayor. So some people know, not everybody does, right? I grew up on a cattle farm in Indiana. And so we had some of the tiniest yards in the community because we were always grazed properly. But as was pointed out with this is a pretty easy conversation for me. Not only is the cost on par with the physical removal or physical trimming of the facilities, but the practical applications are immeasurable. From not only from the fact that the goats not only did make the trimmings, but they take the waste with them instead of leaving it behind. And if we can continue and expand upon this project, I'm all in favor of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway.
Thank you. Yeah, no, this was a great program for our city. Appreciate Councilmember Raines bringing this forward last year. And it's an ecologically sound program, but also our residents absolutely loved it. You know, if you go on social media and they're trying to find out where are the goats today. So my question for you is, if we approve this, when will the goats come back to Laguna Niguel? Because our residents want to see them.
Well, hopefully very soon in 2021. Exactly when will depend on if the weeds have grown and there's enough there for the goats to be enticed to eat. So we'll watch the weather patterns and the weed growth, and we'll bring them out as soon as we can.
Thank you.
I also do advocate the program. It's been a very successful one. And I look at how the program started in the city of Irvine, and it's been Council Member Sandy Raines is the one that should get a lot of credits for that. I just have one basic question for you, because it's my understanding that when the area was surveyed, it was with OC FA's representatives, that based upon the hazard index, they realized that, or they came up with the tabulation that these are the areas that they should be focusing on. What happens to the outskirt of the city, which would be bordering with other cities or with the county? Who's going to be responsible for those areas that we cannot take advantage of the goat grazing system that we have established here?
The Orange County Fire Authority, the OCFA, as you mentioned, determines our level of treatment to a certain area, and we follow those directions and guidelines. If it's outside the city or on the border of the city and it's private property, they'll work with the private property owners to make sure they're following those guidelines. The goat grazing that we have in place, the contract is for city-owned property only.
Very good, thank you. Council Member Kelly Jennings, I didn't want to miss you.
That's okay. I just quick comments, and thank you so much, Councilmember Raines. I know that you were a huge advocate for this, and it was so much fun. Our family loved it. We met up with friends and walked the trails, and it was so much fun. So I just appreciate it. I appreciate you guys looking into expanding the program, and I am so for expanding this program. So thank you very much.
Very good. So can I have a motion to approve staff's recommendations on this?
I'll move we approve the expansion of the goat grazing program.
All right, it was moved with a lot of passion by Council Member Sandy Raines. Any second on this item?
I'll second.
It was seconded by Council Member Kelly Jennings. All in favor, say aye. Aye, it passes unanimously. Our last discussion item is the expansion of the street banner program to include Niguel Hills Middle School. Public Works Director Jackie Scott, the floor is yours, and please provide us with the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor Miniger, members of the City Council. The city's current street banner program includes two banner styles: a Patriot flag banner installed over the summer months and a holiday banner installed over the winter months. Recently, Niguel Hills Middle School reached out to the city regarding the proposed installation of 26 year-round banners within the center medians of the surrounding streets. Niguel Hills Middle School has two designs developed by the school's graphic design department. After comparing the 26 proposed locations to the city's existing street banner program, staff discovered that many of the 26 locations would interfere with the city's existing street banner program. As an alternative, staff recommends installing the banners at 13 locations on streetlights within the sidewalk area of the left and right of the street. The 13 alternative recommended locations are closer in proximity to Niguel Hills Middle School and would also be able to remain up on a year-round basis. Staff contacted the principal at Niguel Hills Middle School, who agrees with the city's alternative 13 recommended locations. The principal also requested the city fabricate, install, and maintain the banners on behalf of Niguel Hills Middle School, dependent on the City Council's approval. If approved, the city street banner program will be expanded to include the 13 banner locations and will be installed by Creative Commercial Services, the city's banner program vendor. The cost to fabricate and install the banners is $3,151.50 and includes a 2-year warranty. The fiscal year 2021 Public Works Department budget includes adequate funds for the expansion of the city street banner program to include Niguel Hills Middle School banners. Staff recommends that the City Council expand the street banner program to include Niguel Hills Middle School and authorize the Public Works Director, City Engineer to enter into a vendor services agreement with Creative Commercial Services for the installation of banners on the behalf of Niguel Hills Middle School. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Madam City Clerk Gomez. Do we have any public comments on this item?
Yes, Mayor, we do on this item. There were 10 comments submitted, so I'm going to read them one at a time.
Please proceed.
The first comment is from Jeff Jones, principal at Niguel Hills Middle School. Laguna Niguel City Council. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all of you for your consistent desire to find ways to partner with and support all of our schools in Laguna Niguel and specifically Niguel Hills Middle School. I am excited by the new possibility of highlighting Niguel Hills Middle School on Golden Lantern with school banners being displayed along the street. This will highlight not just our school, but the connection and support we have built with our city and the commitment we all have to support the children of Laguna Niguel. Having our families and students see the banners in the community will help to instill a sense of school pride and connection with our entire school community. Thank you again for your support, and I am looking forward to seeing the banners in our community and finding more ways to partner with you to support our school and students. The next one is from Melissa Caldwell, Niguel Hills Middle School PTSA President. Good evening, Mayor Menegar and members of Laguna Niguel City Council. My name is Melissa Caldwell, and I am the 2021 PTSA President at Niguel Hills Middle School. I am pleased to have the opportunity to request the city's support for Niguel Hills Middle School. Our students at Niguel Hills represent our future. Supporting the students by displaying school banners along Golden Lantern will allow for our students to have a sense of pride in our community. The banners will also allow the future, current, and former students of Niguel Hills Middle School to know that the city and community of Laguna Niguel supports them and their future endeavors. Since Laguna Niguel does not have a high school, I feel it is important for our middle school students to know that they come from a strong foundation and that their community is behind them before they leave for high school. Thank you for your time this evening. The next one is from Carol Allen, Niguel Hills Middle School supporter. To the members of the Laguna Niguel City Council, I wholeheartedly stand behind the Laguna Niguel City Council, and I know how much you truly care about each and every one of us. I ask that you put up banners in our city in support of Niguel Hills Middle School. Our students have had more than enough to deal with in 2020, and I personally feel this kind of supportive gesture will help them know that our city and our citizens are behind our students 100%. Seeing their school name in and around the city will bring them joy and remind them that we will deeply care about each and every one of them. Thank you for your kind and positive consideration in regards to this beautiful endeavor. The next one is from Kathy Rodardi, Niguel Hills Middle School supporter. Dear City Council members, this year, students who attend Niguel Hills, and all schools for that matter, have been challenged not only academically, but their social and personal development has been a strain for most. Hanging banners on Golden Lantern can bring some pride and self-respect to all students as they arrive, not only for current students, but also for those who will follow years from now. Thank you for your time. The next one is from Savannah Curtis, ASB President at Niguel Hills Middle School. Hello, Laguna Niguel City Council. I am Savannah Curtis, the ASB President of Niguel Hills Middle School. I believe that Niguel Hills should have banners displayed on Golden Lantern because it will identify the school and show its importance. Before I started going to NHMS, I never knew where the school was located. Because it is hidden, the school feels secluded from Laguna Niguel, and its location is most likely unknown by a lot of people. Therefore, NHMS probably doesn't appeal to people, and they would have no interest in supporting the school due to not feeling connected to it. With banners on Golden Lantern, the school will be recognized by the community and show that Niguel Hills is a local school worth supporting. Furthermore, not only will the banners make the school feel of importance, but it will also make the students who attend NHMS feel important because they will see the school pride in the banners and will feel the support from the community as well. Having banners along Golden Lantern displaying Niguel Hills will have a positive impact on the school and the students who attend NHMS. The next one is from Bridget Dawson, 8th grade student. Dear City Council, I would be so happy to see our school banners on the street of Golden Lantern. It would promote school spirit, which is very important right now. It would also confirm how much fun school is at Niguel Hills Middle School. Thank you. The next one is from Sarah Santos, 8th grade student at Niguel Hills Middle School. Dear Laguna Niguel City Council, my name is Sarah Santos, and I am an 8th grader at Niguel Hills Middle School. As a student who loves helping the school and showing school pride, I think it would be great if parents, students, and members of our community could see that we care about our school and are proud to be a part of sharing it to the people around us. I would love if the city of Laguna Niguel could support our school by having our school banners line the streets to our school. It would be a great way to show sharp pride representation in the community of Laguna Niguel. The next one is by Bella Vyasika. Good evening, City Council members. My name is Bella Vyasika, and I am an 8th grader at Niguel Hills Middle School. I think this would be amazing to have Niguel Hills Middle School banners for our school on the street of Golden Lantern, because as an ASB student, I think it is so much fun to show school spirit and support our school. To have the banners up would be a way to show that we love to support our community and our school. Since Laguna Niguel doesn't have a high school, our middle school is the school in Laguna Niguel to promote and support. Thank you for your time. And the ninth comment is Dylan Jones. He's an 8th grade student at Niguel Hills Middle School. NHMS banner proposal. To the City Council members of Laguna Niguel. As an 8th grade student at Niguel Hills Middle School, I am currently aware of the proposed idea of installing banners with the school logo or representation on the streets adjacent to our campus. I feel as though this would be a great change that would help out in many ways. One benefit of these banners would be that the students would recognize the parking lot and road nearby, almost as a part of the campus. Sometimes we have issues with people who believe that the rules do not apply because they think the parking lot is not part of the campus. If we install posters and banners, those students would be more likely to recognize it as a part of the school, and they would be less likely to break the campus rules. Another benefit would be that the banners could signal the drivers on the road that they are near a school campus, so they should be careful, for there may be children walking to and from school. I also feel it will instill a sense of school pride in the students whenever they are near our school. And the last one is from Maddie Caldwell. Good evening, Mayor and Laguna Niguel City Council members. My name is Maddie Caldwell, and I'm a 7th grade student at Niguel Hills Middle School. During these trying times, I think that by placing school banners on Golden Lantern would be a very positive and uplifting display of school spirit. The banners would show that Laguna Niguel supports its middle school students, and it would also promote a sense of community. As a student, it would be great to know that the city of Laguna Niguel supports us. Thank you for your time this evening. And that concludes the comments for that item.
Thank you very much. I wanted to ask my city council colleagues if they have any comments, reflections on this item. I start off with, okay, you should go by seniority. I go with Councilmember Sandy Rains, the ranking member of the city council.
Oh, I would
I'm glad to see this because it's showing that, there's been a lot of people affected this past year, but our youth has been probably the most affected, especially at this middle school level. I mean, these young people, their life that they've known has been pretty much stripped away from them, and yet they're still resilient, and they are uniting together to come to a place where, as we saw from the comments tonight, where last year they brought forth to us to name their street Shark Bay to show school pride, and now they're coming out with another solution. They even took the time to create the banners, which was incredible, and it just shows that we have some great young people in our community, and we should be supporting them. And when we have an opportunity to do something like this, I think it's a wonderful way for us to show our support to our young people and to tell them that thank you for being civically engaged and for caring about their community, and also showing us the way that they're working together. So thank you so much, Miguel Hills Middle School students. And of course, I'm sure some parents and their fearless principal, Jeff, I'm sure had a lot to do with this too. So thank you. And with that, I just want to say I really support this idea. I think it's a great way for our children to have some other sense of pride in this time. Thank you.
Your comments are acknowledged and appreciated. Now, back to Council Member Kelly Jennings.
Thank you very much. We love, Laguna Niguel loves Niguel Hills Middle School and all of our schools. I especially love to drive by and see Shark Bay, so that's really fun. We have a long tradition with partnering with Niguel Hills Middle School, as well as all the Campo Unified School District schools in our neighborhood. And we support the school's excellent sports program by providing community grants for its arts program. So generally, I would have thought that this would have come out of funds that were raised from PTA events or things like that. But being with COVID and the restrictions, I understand that it's more difficult raising funds this year. And the request is not too financially onerous, and we can add it on to what we are already doing. So I support this proposal. I also recommend that we make a note of this expenditure for distributing community funds to ensure that we're treating all of our schools equally, because they all matter. And one question on the design on the banner, it's a little busy. There's a lot of words, so that may be hard when people are driving by, but just my comments. So I'm in support of this program. Thank you.
Your points are well taken, Council Member Kelly Jennings. Now, Council Member Sharma.
I think the public comments stated everything except for one obvious thing in my mind, which was the indirect correlation to fundraising for the school that will manifest as a result of sense of belonging and pride of association with the school. So yes, I am in favor of this as well.
Very good. Last but certainly not least, Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Minigar. I have a bit of a quandary here. I am in full support of supporting the students. I love middle school students, and some of these who we read, that City Clerk Gomez read comments from, participate in the junior civic workshop. So we're teaching them to be engaged in government. And I applaud their wanting to create a culture of school pride. And that is something that we supported last year with the renaming of the street Shark Bay. My concern, though, is I think that we need to stay in our lane. And are we, as a city, then taking over a function of the PTSA? And I just want to voice that concern. I have pages and pages here. See, I have pages, you can see. But I've been listening to what's being said. And I realize that this year is very different. And our students may need something from us, where if this were any other year, I would say no. I would say this is a PTSA function, because when we start taking over activities of other organizations, that makes government bigger. And I'm an advocate of small government. But and one of the students, Dylan Jones, if you're out there listening, Dylan, you really changed my mind on this. So it is important to participate in this process. I do have some questions for staff though, because a couple of my concerns are, in the report it said, and I don't know if I'll direct them to City Manager Letourneau. In the report, it said the banners would be up all year. And I don't know if you get banner fatigue with the banner being up all year, and maybe it should be up the start of school, or if that's something that can be looked at. And my other question is, we have other schools in Laguna Niguel. So what do we do if other schools come forward? And I'm wondering, how are our streets going to look? We have, aside from Niguel Hills Middle School, we have 8 other public schools, 2 of which have middle school students, and we have 5 private schools, 2 of which have middle school students. So has staff considered, how do we handle it if other schools want to do the same thing?
So let me answer your first question, which is the length of time. I personally had a conversation with the principal about whether or not, how comfortable they would be. We may want to take out those banners when we put up our holiday banners or our American flag banners for 4th of July. And they were totally comfortable with that. So I envisioned some kind of rotation. We can put these on for that very reason. And there's no issue with that. In terms of setting precedent, yes, that could be a concern. It's going to have to be on a case-by-case basis. We had to look at the poles that were near this location and come up with something reasonable. I don't know that it will work in every location just because of where the poles are placed. But we would have to take that one at a time and see what made sense, because I don't know that a blanket policy going forward, we could do that, because the locations are unique in themselves.
Okay, all righty. But just be aware, we might have other requests. So, like I said, I came prepared that I did not favor this as far as growing government. But listening to the discussion from my council colleagues and the public comments, and I so appreciate the students taking the time to engage with their local government and make their voice heard, that I would support this.
Thank you very much. I have a couple of comments myself. I wholeheartedly support the idea on this item, but we have to think global in reference to the entire city and other educational institutions within the city's boundaries. And also, I'm against to have those banners all year long, because it's what Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway said. I totally concur with her assessment of the situation. I mean, Niguel Hills Middle School is too special for me because my daughter was the student body president many years ago, and my 2 kids went to that school, outstanding middle school. But we want to be fair. We want to make it equitable. We wanted to make sure that we treat all other educational institutions in the city in the same manner. So I presume Councilmember Sandy Rains had some afterthoughts.
I had a follow-up question because Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Genoway brought up a point. I know that in other cities that have high schools, they have these banners. So do you know what the process is there? Do those local cities pay for the banners, or are those paid for through their PTAs? Just for clarification.
In my experience, it's worked both ways, but
Okay.
it's been funded by the school or funded by the city. It just depends on the situation at the time. I've seen both.
And by putting these banners up now, it wouldn't preclude us from later on requiring the PTA to continue to maintain the process of if they needed to be replaced or whatever to fundraise for them, right? We could do
Correct.
it this time.
We could approach them about when they need to be replaced. We could do that.
And the final question is, since we own the poles where the banners are going, would there be a liability with somebody else putting the banners up and paying for it, as opposed to us having some kind of oversight over that?
I'll let Public Works Director Scott answer that question.
Yes, thank you for the question, Councilmember Rains. The poles are owned by the SDG&E, and they are aware that we are proposing to expand an existing program because the program already does exist and we already have a number of banners throughout the city. This is just a few more banners in an existing program, and they're comfortable with that arrangement.
So for clarification, my question was, is there any liability if we were to have somebody, like, let's say the school, the PTA did raise the money and then they hired their own vendor? Would we have liability with that? Or do you think they'd have to work with SDG&E then, since they own
We
the
would have to
banners?
be indemnified. They'd have to indemnify the city
Okay,
to address that issue. But the preference is if they're going to put banners up, we're already putting banners up, that we keep that with our contract, with all of the insurance requirements by our contractor. I think that's the safest.
okay. And so I
Plan.
think that also helps us for future planning to know if that's the right way to go about it. So thank you, everybody.
Any other comments? Last call. All right. Can I have a motion to approve staff's recommendation?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right. It was moved by Councilmember Sandy Rains and seconded by
I'll second it.
Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously. Well, thank you very much. This concludes our discussion items. So we will now move on to council reports and city manager report. I'm going to start off with, on my left side, Councilmember Rishi Sharma. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. So it's certainly been an eventful evening this evening, lots of comments, and I appreciate wholeheartedly all of the engagement from our city. As it pertains to several of the items that we've discussed tonight, including health and trails and city revenues, operational costs, one of the things that I'd like to see us start working on between now and our strategic planning meeting coming up in February is further engagement of our trails, something along the lines of Laguna Niguel Trail Days, something that crosses my mind. Looking into opportunities to further engage the community in ways that engages our natural resources. And when I look at the strategic plan itself, something along that line will touch on several of those points, including fiscal sustainability, open space, environmental protection, infrastructure, economic community development, and so on and so forth. So I'd like to ask city staff to embrace over the coming months something along that thought pattern. Outside of that, I want to welcome our new chief of police, Mr. Asuncion, and wish everybody happy holidays, and thank you, staff, and be safe and stay strong.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway.
Thank you, Mayor. Attended a youth committee meeting via Zoom last week, and I am so impressed with our high school students. They are reimagining, and that's the word in the city this year, but how to do things and how to have a college and jobs fair and different things for their peers, given the environment we're in and what considerations need to be taken in, due to COVID. So they are doing a lot. They have a lot of things on their radar. So I'm so proud of them. Last night was Monday, was the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. And I'm not going to say too much because I want, when he's here, Director Rivera to tell you, but Councilman Sharma will be very happy to hear that trails is one of the things that they are working on, and a brochure for our residents and how to engage and really promote that, because that's a great asset in our city. So that is something that they are working on. And I'd like to thank Mayor Minigar for attending last week the Junior Civic Workshop. So he attended it. He stayed. He talked to the students. So thank you very much for your presence at that workshop. Our presenters there were Director Scott, talking about what does Public Works do, and Director Rivera talking about what Parks and Recreation does. Our Junior Civic Workshop for January will be Judge Matt Anderson, and we've had him several times before, and he talks about drug court. So it's a very frank discussion with the students about drug abuse, how easy things can happen, and what drug court does. So I encourage all middle schoolers to attend, and I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah. Enjoy the holiday season with your family. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Kelly Jennings.
Thank you very much. So the Christmas and holidays are such a great time around the city, usually, without COVID. While we all wanted to gather in the usual exciting times of helping Santa and Mrs. Claus light the city's Christmas tree, gather with friends for latkes and jelly donuts as we celebrated Hanukkah under the glow of the menorah, and of course, gathering on Crown Valley Parkway to watch the best holiday parade around. Those were great times, and the good news is they will be great times again. In the interim, I'm very proud of our city's efforts to make the best out of 2020 by making it special for all our families and friends in the new and unique ways. We will be out of all this soon, but in the meantime, it's a wonderful time to count the many blessings we have while leaning into those relationships that mean so much to us. Please remember to shop local and pray for our residents and businesses as they make the best of the holiday season. Hope everyone has a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and a wonderful New Year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Sandy Rains.
It has been an interesting evening, and it's been great to hear the different comments from so many of our residents regarding different topics. One of the ones that really stuck out to me was our trails and how an HOA is put a fence up for and denied access to a public easement. I think this is important that we recognize that part of our strategic plan is Goal 6, communication and community outreach. So I'd like to ask if the staff could look into creating some type of an HOA alliance group. I feel like if we were able to have an alliance group where we were communicating regularly with all of our HOAs and we had some, city leadership part of that so that we could know when things are happening ahead of time and communicate more effectively and work together as a community, because whether you live in an HOA or whether you don't, we have public access to many beautiful things here in our city that we provide for all of our residents, and we don't want there to be one resident feeling like they can't access something that they used to access. And I think that this communication and having some type of an organization like this formed would help us to have a better way of understanding what the needs are of all of our community members. So I'd like to see if we could work on something like that, and hopefully my colleagues will agree that it's a good thing to have. The other thing is I wanted to say thank you to our Military Support Committee. They've done an incredible job this year with all the challenges that we've had with the loss of our 7 Marines and 1 sailor, and then pulling together for the holidays. They were able to pull off a wonderful Christmas for, I think it's 227 I think that was 227 children who received gift cards, and Santa and Mrs. Claus did go down to the bases and present those gifts in a social distance, safe way. But they didn't let our military families go without Christmas, and I'm very proud of the hard work that they put in this year. And finally, just welcome Chief Asuncion, and congratulations, Chief McDaniels, on your retirement. I'm sure that you'll find lots of fun things to be doing during that time. So wishing all of you a happy holiday and a safe holiday too. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just very few quick items. I attended the Economic Summit of Southern California Association of Governments, as well as the Executive Board of the Transportation Corridor Agency. 2 separate functions of Laguna Niguel Chamber of Commerce. One of them was, the speaker was our district attorney, the one and only Todd Spitzer. That was very informative. With that, I wanted to wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy Hanukkah. And I wanted to turn it over to our city manager, Tammy Letourneau, to provide us with any reports that she may have.
Yes, a couple of reports this evening. One, even though he's not here this evening, I want to publicly congratulate Ron Rivera on becoming our permanent Parks and Recreation Director. Ron's done an outstanding job as our Recreation Manager, our interim Parks and Recreation Director, and I'm really happy to announce his appointment officially. So I know we all congratulate Ron, and he's going to do a great job for us in that role. So it's very exciting. We are also accepting applications for our city commissions and committees, and those applications are being received through January 8th. We have 3 vacancies on the Investment Banking and Audit Committee, 10 on Military Support, 3 on Parks and Recreation Commission, 3 on the Planning Commission, 4 on the Senior Citizens Committee, 3 on Traffic and Transportation Commission. So additional information and an application are on the city's website, and anyone interested and have questions, they can contact the city clerk for more information. And just, I heard 2 follow-up items, one from Councilmember Rishi Paul Sharma. We're already working on the trails item, so that is coming forward. Councilmember Rain's request to bring back an HOA Alliance group as a future agenda item. Is there I need some concurrence from council that I can go have staff work on this to bring this back on a future agenda. So either a head nod or head nodding. Good. Okay. Thank you. That's what I needed. Okay. That concludes my report this evening.
Very good. Thank you very much. We are now adjourned at 8:20 p.m. All right. So again, good evening and welcome to our special City Council meeting on December 15, 2020. I would like to call the special meeting to order at 8:21. Madam City Clerk Gomez, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Jennings,
Here.
Councilmember Rains, Councilmember Sharma,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Genoway,
Present.
and Mayor Minigar.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you. We will now move on to the discussion item number 1, and that is the City of Laguna Niguel supporting healthy communities through local action on matters involving the COVID-19 pandemic. This item was requested by Councilmember Rains and Councilmember Sharma. At this juncture, I would like to ask one of you to present the item, please.
Last Tuesday, our Orange County Board of Supervisors adopted a Healthy Communities resolution. And as I was listening to the comments of our Board of Supervisors, who all voted unanimously for this, there was a few things that sparked my interest, and the reason why I wanted us as a council to discuss this item and see if there was any support or action that we might want to take. The reason for me bringing this up is that when the governor created his new regions, he included Southern California in a region that has 22 million people, which is half of the population of our state. And he included many counties that aren't anywhere near Southern California. So my request for this wasn't so much that I'm trying to pull away from doing safe things for our community and making sure that we're meeting the needs of our community. It was more about having a candid discussion about is 22 million, half of the state of California, the right direction to go in presenting a solution for moving us forward through this COVID. We obviously know that we've been affected by it in so many different ways, and I'll hold off on my comments for a moment, but I just thought that it was important and imperative that we discuss that our Board of Supervisors who work daily with our public health officer, Dr. Chow, they have the everyday and know what's going on here in our county. And they also know who our mutual aid partners in our surrounding counties are, and they're working with them diligently as well. So I'm thinking of, if we're talking about a regional approach, I was thinking that our regional approach should be more towards our surrounding counties that we are using mutual aid with, and not expanding us up all the way up to Ono and Ventura County and all the way out to Inmo County, which is like spreading us to half of the state. So that's why we brought this agenda item. And with that, I'll turn it back over.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Sharma. The floor is yours.
So the Orange County Board of Supervisors is requesting Governor Newsom to give us more localized control. I think the impetus of the conversation is not that we're abdicating personal responsibility or individual responsibility to self and family, but what we'd like to see and what they would like to see is more localized control as far as giving us the ability to manage our resources and manage our residents and the freedoms and flexibilities that they have to be able to make a living, take care of their families, and provide for themselves. A lot more flexibility for that. So we wanted to bring this to the table for open discussion and the possibility that we could be supportive of our Board of Supervisors as well.
My city council colleagues, any other comments? Councilmember Kelly Jennings? Yes, let's, the public comments is open. Madam City Clerk, do we have any comments on this one?
Yes, Mayor, we do have a significant amount of public comments. So Justin Martin, our Deputy City Manager, and I will be taking turns reading them.
Very good.
I will
Please
go
proceed.
ahead and begin. Thank you. The first one is from Michael Saul. Members of the City Council, on December 11th, Dr. Jim Keeney at Mission Hospital told CBS News that Mission Hospital will run out of ICU beds if the current COVID-19 infection rate continues. The County Public Health Agency concurrently reports only 11% ICU capacity countywide. This capacity needs to cover both people with COVID-19 and those who need the ICU for other illnesses or accidents. Orange County's ICU capacity is lower than the Southern California regional ICU capacity of 13%. Even if I or my family don't get COVID-19, we could have a car accident or a slip and fall. I have family members with cancer and epilepsy. Mission Hospital is a local hospital for all of us. It is imperative that there are hospital beds for us if we need them, whether for COVID or something else. It is imperative that hospital staff not be overworked, that they can competently treat us. The county government has had 9 months to come up with a local plan to control COVID-19 spread in the county. It hasn't. Nothing about the governor's blueprint prevents counties or cities from adopting their own plans, provided that they are actually successful in keeping ICU capacity above 15%. Other counties in the state have adopted their own local plans, but the county hasn't had a plan that worked to keep ICU capacity up. What is the local plan you hope to adopt that will reduce COVID-19 spread in the city or that will free up ICU capacity? Don't hide your light under a bushel. If there is a local plan to get us back above 15% ICU capacity, please focus on getting that adopted immediately. I don't see anything in this resolution that enacts a plan to reduce COVID-19 in the city.
Next comment is from Laguna Niguel resident Jill Defoe. Dear Mayor Minigar and Laguna Niguel City Council members, I strongly agree with the governor's COVID orders and hope that the city of Laguna Niguel will encourage and enforce them. The virus will continue to spread until we are all vaccinated. Until then, we need to do whatever is necessary to keep everyone safe. Thank you.
The next one is from Susanna Bortz, Barton Certified Tutor, Advanced Level. Dear members of the Laguna Niguel City Council, this letter is in regard to the safety of Laguna Niguel residents. Every day, people from Laguna Niguel travel to surrounding cities and counties. Even if our city was COVID-free and consistently mask-wearing, soaring COVID rates around us require responsible, mindful, preventative action because our behavior impacts other people's lives. Currently, almost 2 people per minute die of COVID in the United States. Irresponsibly endangering people's lives for the sake of business will ultimately cause greater damage in those businesses. Please do not support the OC Board of Supervisors Healthy Communities. I wholeheartedly support regional action that protects us all.
Comment is from Marianne Rose. I'm a senior citizen who has been living in Laguna Niguel since before it became a city. I'm appalled that the City Council is considering defying the state orders that have been implemented to keep me and other compliant residents safe. Defying the state restrictions will demonstrate that our city leaders do not care about the safety and health of their constituents. Shame on the city for even considering such action.
The next comment is from Rochelle DeBaca. council members. As a business owner operating a salon for our community and a 16-year Laguna Niguel resident, I am disgusted with the Orange County Supervisors for passing Supervisor Don Wagner's Healthy Community Resolution. Don Wagner's resolution helps to promote the anti-mask movement driven by Peggy Hall and few other anti-mask freedom activists. Wagner himself proved this when he stood maskless, exposing anyone and everyone around him at a rally to reopen businesses. The Open Safe rally was not a rally. It was a protest, one created to object California's shutdown order, a shutdown order that was issued when COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations in Southern California soared. Open Safe's protest featured close to 200 sign-carrying anti-masked demonstrators in Newport Beach. In a time when our parents, our spouses, and our children are terrorized with the death and turmoil rooting in the global pandemic, the Orange County Supervisors made it known who they support, those who could care less about the health and safety of their fellow community members, so long as their freedom to show their mouth and nose to the world is protected. Supervisor Don Wagner continues to prove he lacks the personal character and moral leadership necessary to represent Orange County. He participated in a political rally to throw a tantrum about basic common sense safety measures. Orange County and Southern California are at a tipping point. Either we beat this disease, or we continue to follow the thoughts of an individual who fails to understand the basic science behind COVID-19. This deadly virus should not be politicized, especially by those in leadership positions. The truth is, COVID-19 has killed. COVID-19 will continue to kill. If wearing a mask could save even one life, why wouldn't an official put in office to protect us? Wagner should spend less time politicizing a deadly virus, insulting and disrespecting his constituents, and more time helping small businesses. I am a small business owner who follows all safety measures and promotes wearing a mask. Do not support Don Wagner's Healthy Community Resolution. Do not support the anti-mask movement, which goes against state guidance and an overwhelming majority of your constituents' morals. Our economy can only reopen safely if our communities are healthy. Wear a mask, sanitize your hands. These things do not restrict your rights. They protect others' rights to live life. Let's follow state guidelines to reopen our economy safely. How many lives are you willing to lose to do it too quickly?
Next comment is from Cindy Rice. I was very disappointed that the city of Laguna Niguel is taking up a resolution for local control of COVID safety measures. People are dying and our hospitals' ICUs just reached zero capacity. This is the worst time to send a message that we need less safety. The city should focus on solving the numerous local issues we already face and let the state officials handle such matters.
Libby Frolickman. I am very disappointed to hear that the city of Laguna Niguel is considering support of the OC Board of Supervisors resolution calling for local control over COVID-19 safety measures. Our county hospital ICUs just reached zero capacity. Lives are at risk when there is no space at the inn. This is the worst time to send a message that we need less safety or that you know better than doctors, epidemiologists, public health experts, and scientists. The city should focus on the many local challenges already in front of us and leave this issue to the voters who elect our state leaders. The city should focus on solving the numerous local issues we already face.
Comment from Sarah Nuss Gallus. Please know that our family supports the governor's COVID orders and is strongly opposed to any reopening rally attempts protest at this time. With ICUs near full and COVID numbers rising, we must stay the path and wear masks, wash our hands frequently, and maintain distances. A vaccine is out and hopefully it will be available for seniors like us soon. In the meantime, as representatives of our community, please do not throw caution out.
This comment is from Ceresa Salter. Our governor is trying to save lives with this closed down order. It is inconvenient, but so is death. I support our governor, and I do not support Board of Supervisor Wagner.
Comments from Jennifer Barb, Laguna Niguel resident. I'm very concerned about the health and impact of any departure from the state's plan. My expectation from my city council is a clear understanding as to how a departure from the plan will not lead to more cases when the Orange County Health Dashboard shows our hospitals are near full capacity. I'm concerned Orange County has pushed back so much on some of the simple recommendations, such as masks, which is why we are where we are today. The section in the Healthy Communities resolution that concerns me is the comment about there not being any show that those environments, businesses, schools, are responsible for COVID-19 cases. I do not understand why the Board of Supervisors thinks these places are not problems. We do not have time, infrastructure, or resources to study the impact of patrons going to restaurants in person and children in schools to draw a scientific conclusion that these establishments do or do not contribute to the spread. This assumption seems unfounded and should not dictate public health policy. My children attend a preschool and we have been exposed to COVID-19. We can personally attest that our only source of exposure has been through school. Schools and restaurants gather people, and this is how the virus spreads. There's not much more we as a community can do to support our first responders as they tend to our ill neighbors than to obey these orders. What we can do is find solutions to the financial problem. Stay home, financially support families and businesses, and fight this virus. If this alternative plan does not achieve our number one goal, fighting the virus, then it will be met with resistance. I request my city council focus their efforts on the financial solutions and allow medical professionals to dictate health policies.
This comment is from Stephanie Otto, Laguna Niguel resident. Dear Mayor Minigar and City Council members, I'm writing to express my opposition to the county's Health Communities resolution and therefore the city's adoption of a similar version. The main argument that is being made is that local control is threatened when there are policies that are imposed on a region or other larger political area. While I am an advocate of local control, in many cases, public health is not one of them. You cannot apply one political philosophy to all problems. This is incredibly myopic. A disease such as COVID knows no borders. It would be unbelievably impossible to control COVID if each city or county had its own set of rules. What about people who live outside the city and come into work? What about people who leave the city or county and work elsewhere? Perhaps you advocate a public hospital being built in Laguna Niguel to give you full local control. None of this makes sense, of course, because public health is in fact a regional issue, and truly, in this case of mass community spread, it is a national issue. Any dreams of local control of a virus have long since passed because of a failed national rollout and a continued defiance by our own OC Board of Supervisors when it comes to promoting basic health measures like wearing a mask. On a day when we look at the OC Health Dashboard and see that there is 0% ICU capacity in Orange County, Councilmember Raines and Sharma propose a political discussion, which is an incredible waste of staff time and therefore taxpayer money. This resolution does nothing except threaten a political relationship that residents in Laguna Niguel so desperately need at this time. Do not put the almost $1.4 million in COVID money we have received from our state and federal governments at risk. Please think like problem solvers and do not get distracted by this ridiculous resolution.
Next comment is from Barbie Walters. I'm a small business owner and feel the pain of having our business and livelihood closed down, but I'm also the mother. My adult daughter and husband are both suffering through COVID right now. Her husband is a firefighter and contracted COVID on the job, and now she has it. They have an immunocompromised son who they are terrified will get sick. These are hard times and decisions, but we can do the hard thing, and for all of us can get on the other side. I implore you to not overturn Newsom's order.
This comment is by Lindsay Schwartz. To do anything besides ensure that our citizens should be following these orders to save lives is doing a great disservice to the citizens of our city. The orders are in place because we are at a critical point in this pandemic. Our ICUs are at max capacity. The fact that you would consider suggesting people do anything besides stay home, socially distance, and wear a mask is downright dangerous. There is no mixed science of what saves lives. We should be absolutely following the guidance and not pushing back on Newsom's orders. If you take issue, it should be speaking out to our Senate for not providing relief for our citizens. Put your energy there and knock this charade off.
The next comment's from Valerie Birchfield Rhodes. Today, the Orange County Healthcare Agency reported available adult ICU beds hit 0%. The number of Orange County cases have soared 18% in the past 3 days. Another high school in Orange County canceled in-person learning today due to a surge in COVID cases. Local emergency room doctors describe their hospitals as war zones. At today's Orange County Board of Supervisors meetings, Orange County Health Director Clayton Chow begged the Board of Supervisors to take the COVID surge seriously. And at this moment, the worst Orange County has seen since the pandemic began more than 9 months ago, this body is considering a resolution to loosen the safety guidelines set forth by our state leaders. Council members, your most important duty as our elected leaders is to keep our communities safe, yet some of you have actively participated in anti-mask events and are considering aligning yourself with some of the most strident anti-mask, anti-lockdown activists out there, such as Supervisor Don Wagner. Please understand, I am very empathetic to the struggles faced by our local business owners. I have family members on the brink of losing their restaurants. However, many business owners are already defying the state orders and are still open for business. It would be the height of irresponsibility and send absolutely the wrong message to adopt a resolution at this critical time in our county's health crisis that slackens public safety guidelines. I've attached a graph that shows the trajectory of hospitals over the past 30 days. Please do the right thing and defeat the Healthy Communities resolution.
This comment is by MT. I am disturbed to hear that the city of Laguna Niguel is taking up this resolution. Our hospital ICUs are at zero capacity. The city should support our healthcare system and ensure they are able to cope with the current circumstances. The city should focus on solving the local issues we already face and not bend to irresponsibility. It is your duty to provide safety to the community, and the weight is on your shoulders. What has been done has not been enough, and what you choose matters in protecting other lives. Any other decision is a vote against public safety.
My final comment is from Ada Briceño, Chairwoman of the Democratic Party of Orange County. To the City Council, with respect, I'm very disappointed to hear that the City of Laguna Niguel is taking up this resolution. Our hospital ICUs reach zero capacity. This is the worst time to send a message that could contradict doctors' advice. The city should focus on the many local challenges already in the community. Leave this issue to the voters who elect our state leaders, and please focus on the many local issues already facing Laguna Niguel.
I have a few more comments that were received after 5 o'clock. I'm just going to go ahead and read them into the record.
Please.
This one is from Leslie Deacon. As a longtime Laguna Niguel resident and homeowner, I was appalled to learn that my city is considering defying government nuisance COVID-19 public health orders. Perhaps our council members are unaware of the fact that as of today, Orange County has 0% ICU bed capacity. I can only assume that Sandy Rains and Rishi Paul Sharma have not lost any friends or family members to COVID. I have, and during the next local election, I will not forget about their political posturing and disregard for the health and safety of our community. The next one is from Janice Burston, resident of Laguna Woods. Honorable City Council members, my comment is in regard to a resolution for local control of COVID safety measures, allowing the City of Laguna Niguel to make decisions regarding all protocols related to COVID-19 based on political decisions and not based on medical data, health statistics, and the impact on our hospitalizations, ICU cases. We are at the brink of a potential catastrophe with regard to how our residents are faring, and we must rely on the OC Healthcare Agency to provide information to make wise decisions based on science and not politics. Since there aren't any borders between cities in the OC, cities are interrelated and travel from Laguna Niguel, bring its residents into a wider geographical area, as well as other people who choose to frequent the many businesses in your city. Please read my comment into the record at tonight's City of Laguna Niguel City Council meeting. It would be most appreciated. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The next one is from Ken Mintz. He is a resident. If the City of Laguna Niguel has not seen the attached, please provide them with a copy. And it's an article titled OC Intensive Care Units Hit Zero Capacity, COVID Cases Soar. As you can see, the rate of COVID is increasing drastically, and rather than loosening up, it is necessary to make certain that we are more cautious than ever. If you recall, the OC Board of Supervisors were initially against mask mandates for our county and spent a lot of time fighting our governor. They were wrong. Then they eventually agreed that masks were critical, and they, along with our council, would be wrong now to loosen things up now. We all are making major sacrifices and all need to for a while, but we shouldn't be letting things be done which we know will add to the already horrendous death count. Look at the numbers and remember that we live in a village and we all have to do our part. The next one is from Kay Harrington. Keep local control, adopt the Healthy Choice Act. The next one is from Brandon Mitchell. Dear City Council, as a resident of Laguna Niguel, we want to notify the City Council that the residents of Laguna Niguel want to maintain local control of COVID-19 decision-making. Residents of Laguna Niguel want to adopt a resolution similar to the County of Orange's Healthy Communities Resolution. We do not want to follow California's blueprint for a safer economy. The reasoning that Laguna Niguel residents support the Healthy Communities Resolution presented by Orange County are listed below. Local control of COVID-19 restrictions allows for better control of the local economy. This will minimize the damage done to Laguna Niguel's local small businesses and restaurants that are already struggling. The state of California does not know the needs of Laguna Niguel residents. Local control will allow for a safe reopening of Laguna Niguel. Adopting a different strategy than the rest of the Orange County will dramatically hurt the businesses and the livelihoods of Laguna Niguel residents. The next one is by Monica Mitchell. Dear City Council, as a resident of Laguna Niguel, we want to notify the City Council that the residents of Laguna Niguel want to maintain local control of COVID-19 decision-making. Residents of Laguna Niguel want to adopt a resolution similar to the county's. It looks like this is exactly the same as the prior person, which may be a family member. They have the same name, same last name. But I'm just going to go ahead and read it just for the record. Local control of COVID-19 restrictions allow for better control of the local economy. This will minimize the damage done to Laguna Niguel's local small businesses and restaurants that are already struggling. The state of California does not know the needs of Laguna Niguel residents. Local control will allow for a safe reopening of Laguna Niguel. Adopting a different strategy than the rest of Orange County will dramatically hurt the businesses and the livelihoods of Laguna Niguel residents. This one is from Julie Herrick. I am writing in opposition to this resolution because it's a pretty transparent attempt to circumvent the public health measures that are designed to control the spread of COVID. The statewide measures are rooted in science and reduce or expand in-person interactions based on objective measures of community transmission. Our hospital ICUs just reached zero capacity, and we are going to the Christmas season, which stands to drastically exacerbate this problem. This is the worst time to send a message that we need less safety or we know better than doctors. The city should focus on the many local challenges already in front of us and leave this issue to the voters who elect our state leaders. The city should focus on solving the numerous local issues we already face. The next one is from Bruce and Susie Palmer. I, Bruce Palmer, am voicing my vote for OC Health Choice Act to be enforced. Thank you. The next one is from Philip Mitchell. Please keep Laguna Niguel under local control as far as COVID restrictions. Thank you. And the last one is from Anna Bryson. I, Anna Bryson, a 27-year citizen of Laguna Niguel and a former president of the Capistrano Unified School Board, laud our city council for working for our citizens and businesses and seeking to open our economy with common sense and in support of our daily lives. There is a precious little science, if any, in the assault on our freedoms, faith, and small businesses. Thank you to our caring and effective city council. Yours truly, the Honorable Anna Bryson, past CUSD president. And that concludes the comments.
Thank you very much. The public comment portion of this council meeting is closed. Now I wanted to open it to discussions by my city council colleagues. I can go back to the two council members that introduced this item for this special meeting first, if they have any kind of reflections on that. Otherwise, I can proceed with my other two colleagues. It's your call. Okay, Council Member Sandy Rains. The
Okay.
floor is 100% yours.
Okay, well, civil engagement is at the core of our democracy. The fact that so many residents have spoken out about this shows that we have an opportunity to understand how we can better communicate and effectively serve our community. So I appreciate all of the comments. There is no 100% solution to any problem that we ever have. And COVID-19 has been a global pandemic. Many areas have served their communities in many different ways. This is in no way brought to the dais today to defy any safety orders. It's always been, and it will continue to be, our number one priority that the public health and safety of our community comes first. This resolution was adopted by our County Board of Supervisors because they wanted to be able to have an opportunity, and they've been doing things. Actually, we had 2 months straight in the red tier. We were managing things here, and we were doing a good job. I know that there's a lot of controversy about this and that there's a lot of people who may not feel that way, but we've implemented many programs at the county level, including delivery food service to seniors who are at highest risk of COVID-19. So we have opportunities for them to have telemed appointments, to have their medications delivered to their homes. We also have the 211 OC calls have gone considerably, have skyrocketed. And when we say the words, if we can save one life, it's worth it. So I want to say, who are we to say if we could have saved that one child who committed suicide last week? Would that have been worth it? Because they were isolated, or that elderly patient that died in a nursing home alone, and not because of COVID, but because they were isolated and depressed. There's no life that isn't valuable, but we have to be common sense, and we have to look at the things that we have available to us and realize that 22 million is a large number to manage. And I'm not saying that our governor has not worked hard and has not done a job of trying to protect our entire state. This is not what this is about. It's about saying, let us try to have some management. So I know many of the comments said we have 0% ICU capacity, but our Orange County supervisors have mobilized an OC healthcare agency and deployed field hospitals to help alleviate COVID-19 burden. That happened today, locally, right here in Orange County. So they acted and reacted immediately to protect the public health and safety of our communities. When we look at all of our businesses that have invested millions and thousands of dollars to create businesses here, and now they've reinvested to safeguard their businesses according to the guidelines. Some of these places, these businesses already have strict guidelines by our state, and now they've been added to their guidelines, and they've done all of these things to safeguard their businesses. What happens, and this is the contrast I'm going to use, what happens when we put more restrictive guidelines in, personal responsibility fails us, because what we found is that people then will order takeout from a restaurant and then go gather in somebody's private home. And now we've had multiple households that go together, and this spikes our COVID-19 cases. So it's the personal responsibility that we need to look at and be aware of. It's not the leadership that we've had and the actions that our county health departments have taken. They've been working tirelessly to meet the needs of this. The other thing that I want to, like in LA, they've had the largest and the most restrictive guidelines of any of our Southern California local partners here, and they have the highest number of cases. And it's because the personal responsibility is not there. As soon as the lockdowns happen, people go gather. So what I'm saying is we need to adopt something where we can say no gatherings that are not controlled. Our restaurants, our salons, our local retailers, they're all abiding by the guidelines that are set in place. They don't allow you to go in without a mask. They're asking you to social distance. They're keeping a capacity down. So this is about allowing each and every person in our community to have a balance here. we respectfully say, yes, COVID is real. It's not saying that it's not real, but we're respectfully saying there is other ways that we can handle it. We've used all of our resources. Our county is at a $267 million deficit now because we've been using up our resources to provide food for the food insecure, housing help for the people that are, losing their housing because they haven't worked. Our unemployment rate is over 10%. And so these are all things that are affecting our community, and lives are being affected as well. So this resolution was more about bringing awareness and saying, we need to be able to work. I do have a couple questions because, and I wondered, one of the things was, well, why don't we come up with our solution? Do we have the opportunity to send a solution? Because I believe that we've sent things through the county and they've not been receptive to that in the governor's office.
At different times during COVID, we've made requests to open different facilities and things. And for example, one was the pool. That took a while. Eventually, we were allowed to do that. Skate parks was another one. So we've had them throughout. And eventually, they have been, the governor's orders have changed, but obviously they've changed back because the numbers have changed. So it had an ebb and flow since March.
Okay, and I believe our county has encountered the same thing. So this is really about us staying safe and trying to meet all of the needs of our local communities. It's not about not being safe and not caring about the health and safety of our communities. So that was the reason that I wanted us to discuss this. So I'll listen to what my other colleagues have.
Thank you. Councilmember Sharma, the floor is yours.
So first of all, thank you to the public for your commentary. I take it to heart every time I hear anybody getting engaged. It was implied or all out stated that this is politically motivated, and I will assure you that it's not. I think the underlying challenge that we have here is we're having a lot of conversation about COVID and how to deal with COVID, but we're not having a more comprehensive conversation about the effects of the approaches that we're taking to deal with COVID. We've seen increases in suicide. We've seen increases in depression. We've seen increases in sexual abuse, physical abuse, parenting challenges, homelessness, mental health challenges, and bereavement challenges. I personally have experienced several individuals in engaged conversations that are now compounding depression issues as well as onset depression issues because of their fear or being locked down and staying at home, or their concern about losing their job, or the startup and shut down processes that we've gone through. All we're asking is to get local control where we can make executive decisions or decisions on how to approach, not abdicating our responsibilities relative to COVID, not alleviating the approaches or all out ignoring what's been recommended by the governor in the state of California, but enhancing our approach in a manner that gives us the capacity to not suffer longer term consequences because we made very poor decisions during the course of COVID. And those long-term consequences include bankruptcy, permanent depression issues, more suicides, more hospitalizations because people are abusing alcohol or getting physically abused themselves. I did not hear one public comment that addressed or identified any of those conversations. And I think it's very important and healthy for us to have a more comprehensive conversation regarding all of these issues, not singularly COVID. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I wanted to turn it over to Councilmember Kelly Jennings. If you have any comments on this item.
Just a few. Where I work, we've suffered with COVID too, having to deal with how do we open, how do we stay open. I work for a church, so we care about our community. So we've shut down. We were having outside in-person services, but we decided to shut down because the numbers are skyrocketing, and people are not adhering to the rules that have been put in place. And it's so unfortunate. I mean, it's heartbreaking that we are having Christmas and Hanukkah and we don't get to gather and be together. But first and foremost, safety of our community and our residents is the most important thing. I don't read in this resolution where it says we condone people not wearing masks or gathering in large places, things like that. It does not say that. I understand that it's about caring for our businesses. Caring for our community is caring for our businesses. And these people have worked so hard to build up their businesses, and we want to support them in that. But we need to do it safely, and we need to care about our community, because the numbers are off the charts and they're just going to climb. And I'm really worried about everybody as well, but we have to do what's right. But not in this resolution. I do not read that we're allowing people not to wear masks or adhere to the guidelines of what everyone has stated about being safe. So.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway.
Hey, thank you, Mayor Minigar. You know, if you look at the map of California and how the regions are outlined on the map, and you see the region we're in, it's a very odd configuration. So I would suggest that if you haven't seen that map, take a look at it, because it's almost like a U that goes up. And it's how are all these other counties clumped in with Orange County? Just very strange. I don't disagree with the resolution, but I was concerned when I saw it in the urgency with which it was placed on the agenda that it would be seen as politicizing the issue. And I greatly appreciate all the residents who have stepped forward to make comments or have comments read into the records, because their concerns matter. But some of the things that were voiced are not in the resolution. So as far as there's nothing in here that says people should not wear masks. And what local control means is that we can have more stringent requirements. We still fall under the state requirements. We still fall under the county requirements. And why the county has this resolution, that's where our health officer is housed. It's a county health officer, not the city. So we do need to follow those directives. But we can always have more stringent requirements if that is what is necessary in our city. And I think with the Board of Supervisors, I think it's a recognition that Orange County does not, what are there, 11 other counties with us in that southern region? Santa Barbara. I mean, how do you get all the way up to Santa Barbara from Orange County and say we're in the same region? So that's what this is driving at. And we as a council on many, many issues, you've heard us advocating for local control. And yes, and I agree with the comment that was made that, you know, COVID doesn't stop at our city borders. It is a regional issue. But at least we locally have more control over the measures that we put into effect to stop the transmission of COVID. So this echoing, it's really an echoing of the county resolution, what we're doing here. It's more of a reaffirmation of our convictions. But there's nothing in here that says we're going to have, you know, anti-mask rallies or anything like that. So I urge people to read this. If you haven't read it, read it. But I am a little disappointed in that it doesn't have any specific actions for our city in it. What is our commitment to our residents and our businesses? I would like to see something like that in here, because that's where we as a city council are taking control over the environment that we have control of, that we have some authority of. I think in this resolution, again, I am very dismayed to see it being politicized. I had wished that this would have come a little bit later, because even though the county passed this, it doesn't change anything whether or not we do it tonight or at our next meeting. And I would have preferred that it would have come later, that we would have had some time to maybe give some more thought to it and add some can't say that word with the mask on, specific input for Laguna Niguel in here. But the resolution in no way condones the lessening of safety protocols that we have all been asked to follow. And in light of the sharp increase of the number of COVID cases and hospitalizations and the decrease in hospital bed availability, all of us, individually and collectively, need to take responsibility to make sure that we are strictly adhering to these safety protocols. But there are a couple of things that I think aren't identified in this that I would like to add to the resolution. And that would be, let's see, on the 6th whereas, the third line right after youth, and this is talking about we've seen increases in certain things. After where it says youth, comma, I would add social isolation and nutritional insecurity for senior citizens. That's a huge problem in our county. And then, comma, underreporting by mandated reporters. Both, elder abuse, child abuse, domestic violence. Those victims are not coming into contact with the mandated reporters. So as our own district attorney has said, those crimes are being underreported and those victims are not getting the help that they should. So I think those need to be recognized in our resolution. But I would like to see some more specific things in here as far as what we as a city are doing for our residents and our businesses. And I don't know what the feeling of my council colleagues are, if maybe we table this and ask staff to come back with some specifics. So this really is tailored to Laguna Niguel and not just using the county template. And that's it, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I wanted to thank all of my city council colleagues for expressing their comments and the positions with regard to the proposed action plan. I have one question for our city manager, Tammy Letourneau. As of today, based on your knowledge, there are 34 cities in Orange County, besides the County of Orange. Which other municipal corporations have adopted or ratified a similar resolution supporting Supervisor Don Wagner's motion and seconded by Supervisor Lisa Bartlett?
To my knowledge, there are none as of today.
0 out of 34 cities. I mean, 33.
As far as I know.
Okay, thank you. Well, before last Tuesday, that the Board of Supervisors in Orange County started discussing this specific item, as everybody knows, I'm 100% pro local control. We wanted to make sure that we have, we make our decisions based on what is the best for 66,400 great residents that we have in this city. We have moral obligations to serve them the best. Then a lot of things have changed. So the needle, from my perspective, has been moving. First, when I saw the video of the Orange County Supervisors meeting, I said to myself, that's a great idea because I'm in favor of that. But then when I got all kinds of different reports, my wife happens to be a medical professional, and every day when she comes home, she talks about this beautiful county is in a kind of huge pandemic when the number of intensive unit cares in our great hospitals is almost at 0. That's a big signal to me that we have to be very cautious. We are not the health officials of this great city because we don't have any. We have to abide by either we go to the higher jurisdiction, which is the County of Orange, or the higher one, the state of California. We may not be in agreement with the state. We may not be in agreement to the governor's order, but when I look at the health aspect of it and what is happening in my neighborhoods in this great city, and every day I hear someone is getting, COVID-19, it's been exposed, it's positive. It worries me that we have to be very cautious. And as I heard it from some of my council colleagues, that where is the teeth in this resolution? What is the intention in this resolution? Is it, in my view, what we have to do is we have to balance health and wealth of our great businesses, specifically small businesses. I, for one, I guess all of us, we, in some shape or form, we fall into that category. So I feel for them. We are in the same, situation. So we need to help them. But we, as a municipal corporation, at this juncture, on this day, to pass a resolution that we don't have any specific items that we as a city can move forward with that, with the lack of a lot of other information, then I'm not comfortable. So I leave it there, and I just wanted to see that if my city council colleagues have any other comments.
I would like to follow up. The one thing about getting this on here was to have a discussion about what the county have done and to see if we could support a local control measure, but not really adopt our own resolution right now. I feel like Mayor Pro Tem Genoway brings up very valid points that we should include in this resolution if we were going to adopt one, that the things that we are doing, the resources that are in place. I think a lot of the residents are unaware of all of the things that are being done to combat COVID, and yet unaware of maybe some of the other unintended consequences of what our communities are suffering with as a result of COVID. So I don't have I guess I don't have an objection to us tabling it and having staff do some research to come back with something that that includes some of the items that are important to our local community, and just to show, maybe have a letter of support to the County Board of Supervisors to be more specific on what their steps are in protecting our community, as opposed to just adopting a resolution that says we want local control. If we want it, let's show them why we want it and what we're doing that proves that we're worthy of it. So I think that I'm okay with that, and I feel like, I don't know how anybody else feels, but that's where I stand.
I am in
Councilmember
favor.
Kelly Jennings.
Thank you. I'm in favor of tabling this and adding specifics. I think we should include that we encourage everyone following the CDC guidelines, county guidelines. We should have a lot more specifics in there than some blanket resolution if we're going to adopt a resolution.
Councilmember Sharma.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Genoway. I really do agree with your commentary on this about creating more specifics, so I'm in favor of tabling it as well until such point in time that we have something more to deliver. Thank you.
Well, Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway, the last
Are you ready
comment.
are you ready for a motion?
Yeah, I'm ready. If you have
Okay.
no other comments, we can move on. So
Move that we table this and refer to staff to come back with more specifics at a future meeting.
it was moved
I'll
to table
second.
this item by Mayor Pro Tem Elaine Genoway, and it was seconded by Councilmember Sandy Rains, who introduced the item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Well,
I do
thank
have
you.
one final.
Please.
So I did want to bring a comment point up and see if I could get some conference from my colleagues. One of the reasons why this resolution came the way it did was, in our current policies and procedures, there's not really a clear identifying way to bring an item to an agenda. It's very vague, and I was hoping that maybe we could direct our city manager to write maybe a more specific way of bringing agenda items that gives the staff better direction on how to propose an agenda item like this, instead of having to create a whole special meeting where we could add it and maybe have some time frame. So I think it would be beneficial to us to be able to have a little bit more detailed policies and procedures in place. And I believe, would you have anything to add to that?
Even though this is not an action item and it's not a part of the agenda for tonight's special meeting nor the regular city council meeting, please.
Just
Please.
like the other item, if I have nodding of heads of bringing back some amendments to the city council policy about how agenda items can be added on to the agenda. I fully support very specific guidelines and directives, because that helps us manage the process. So if that's something the council is interested in, it can bring back the suggested revisions to the existing council policy. But I need some nodding of heads
we need to have some discussions on that.
And my question is, and I think City Attorney Ennis will stop me if I can't keep asking this question, but you said revision, because we do have existing policy.
You do
And-
have an
and the-
existing policy about how agenda items can be
Right,
put on
and
the
it-
agenda by the council and
And I think maybe it's just a matter of the council members, I mean, some of us are, maybe it's intuitively aware of the timing that it takes, but maybe if a schedule was presented to the council to get on an agenda, it needs to be to staff by, I don't know what your number is, 7 days beforehand, or, because there is a cycle it has to go through.
there is a process.
As a matter of amplification on that comment, I've been in the city council for 6 years and for so many years before that, watching or participating indirectly in the city council meetings. We've never had any issues with any items to put on the agenda. This is the first time that I hear this issue to be a problem. So, any other comments, Councilmember Sharma?
I'd just like to say I used to do agendas for Molten Legal, so I understand the time and the labor and the intensity that goes into it, and I appreciate it, and I understand that there's a waiting period. But if we need further clarification, something in writing, if you're okay with that, that's fine.
I'm happy to bring back the policy for some potential, a discussion about potential revisions. I would be happy to-
Right, right.
And
but
that's
not-
about as far as we can go with the item tonight.
Right,
Yes.
but I understand there are a lot of cities that they posted way before the city council meeting. And I know the staff needs to research the items, the staff needs to discuss it with department heads from a legal perspective, from a technical perspective, to make sure that everything that they put on the agenda is in, abiding the city, county, and state and federal laws. So I think it takes time, but just to rush any item into the city council agenda, I'm not in favor of that, to be honest with you. But we can discuss it. Your points are well taken. So with all that said, I guess the city manager got the direction from us. It's 9:20, and thank you very much. And this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.